All right. Welcome, everyone, to Seminar Sunday. This is the November 25th edition of Seminar Sunday. And tonight we have a very special guest. We have immediate past District Director Carol Carter, DTM, who is presenting to us about leadership possibilities in the 2019-2020 year. This is a great opportunity for all of you to understand the roles, understand what it takes, and to learn about what it's going to mean for you, or what it could mean for you, some of the possibilities, some of the opportunities, and what it takes. So if you are looking to nominate people, looking to run yourself, or just looking to understand what the process is like, this is what we're going to be talking about. Over to you, Carol.
Okay, I am so glad to see that some of the names on this list of people who have turned out, a couple of you I do not know, which is very exciting. Toastmasters leadership. Oh, every time I talk about leadership beyond the club level, I get this blank look from people, and a few questions tend to come up. And those questions are probably running through your mind as you listen to this call and participate in this webinar. Hopefully you've shown up with all of your questions and we will get them answered. But the objectives of today's call is to help you to understand why you would want to run for a position in Toastmasters leadership beyond your club level, what that's going to do for you, the steps involved in applying for that position, and some of the things that you can expect not only to learn, but expect to bring to the table. That's an important part in that role so that you can succeed. Our goal is to help you set yourself up for success. The deadline for nominations is December the 15th. And during this call, you'll learn how to get your nomination in, not only for people you think should be in upcoming leadership roles, but also and especially for yourself.
I'm trying to fix the lighting. I realize that background lighting might have been throwing it off. There you go.
Yes. Okay, so first of all, we have a poll to find out who is on this call, or basically why you wanted to listen into this call. Did you want to put that poll?
I'm launching it right now, and I'm going to share the vote percentages. So everyone, please vote. Come on, there's a couple more of you can vote.
I didn't vote because I didn't think that would be right.
Okay, so we have, if everyone can everyone see the results? Hopefully you can. We had 13% that are interested in, looks like they're interested in running for a position. Sorry, 13% interested in running for a position, 13% interested in nominating someone, 38% curious, and 38% are an avid learner. That's why you're attending. And nobody came here because they didn't know that the call was about leadership opportunities. So that's good to know.
This is good.
I'm going to close the poll.
Okay, excellent. So for you avid learners, why would you want to consider either a leadership position in Toastmasters for you or for somebody, maybe a fellow member in your club? First of all, I know many of those names have taken on club leadership roles. In the club leadership role, you are helping this group of fellow learners, maybe anywhere between 10, 12 people to maybe you've got a club of 30, 40 people. You're helping those people succeed, and you've got this little corner of responsibility. Some of you have been club presidents, and in that club president role, you got to feel what it's like to be at the helm and responsible for everything. It's quite the weight on your shoulders, and this tends to scare some people. However, Toastmasters is a place to gain skills. Toastmasters is our training ground, and the skills that you gain from Toastmasters leadership are skills that you can then take out and use in the real world. I've talked to a lot of people who've said, oh, I don't have time for Toastmasters leadership, maybe when I retire. And I have seen a lot of district leaders with some hair about the same color as mine and maybe a little bit lighter. And I've also seen younger leaders at those training sessions, and I've seen the difference in how they approach challenges and problems. There is a difference when you take on Toastmasters leadership as a tool to help you in your real life, in your real job, to help you succeed, to try out different ideas and see what works, because it matters in other parts of your life. You end up with a better result in your Toastmasters leadership. So I'm just going to pick Sean's brain, because he was one of those. He was going to wait till he retired. Oh, I don't want to do Toastmasters leadership yet, but yes, I do want to do it in the future. Sean, what did you learn from stepping ahead of your schedule and actually taking on Toastmasters leadership before you really thought you'd be ready?
Thank you for that. This has been an interesting challenge, journey for me. I'll call it a journey. And I was a manager of 150 people. It was a $50 million business that I'm running, that I was part of. I've changed roles a few times and done various other things that have a broad background in both leadership and marketing, in various other skills. And so I thought, I'm not going to learn anything from this. I'm going to do what the majority of people that I hear when I ask them, when I ask them to step up, why'd you step up for a role? What I was feeling was the same thing that I hear from many people, is that, I'm going to give back. And the issue was that I want to give back to the organization, because Toastmasters is an amazing organization. It helped me grow. I'm sure it helped many of the people in the audience grow and become better people, better leaders, and so that they feel they should give back. But that's not necessary. That was what I was thinking I was going to do. However, I learned something. I was surprised that I learned something. I learned a lot from this process. And so, in answer to your question, I have a lot of things I can share about what I've learned. And some of those things are the big difference between a not-for-profit and a profit organization. They run differently. By being a leader in a for-profit, you have control over how much somebody earns, about their future, their livelihood, their family, indirectly because of the compensation. When you're in a not-for-profit, you have no control directly over their salary or over their benefits or anything like that. You have control over what they can learn a little bit, because you're giving them a great opportunity, and you have an impact on their family, but not necessarily in that short period of time when you're taking on a senior leadership role. Is it a positive impact? It's an impact that puts a pressure on them. So you need to understand the dynamics that are different between a for-profit and a not-for-profit organization and what you're dealing with. And so that was one of the major things that I learned. And we can get into some very specific things. And that's around, you can't choose your team. In a for-profit organization, you can hire and fire. You can sort of fire people in Toastmasters. It's difficult. You got to have, this is a safe learning environment. People can screw up, and that's okay. And that's what we want people to learn and to grow, so that they don't do it in the workplace and they don't do it in real life, but they can do it in Toastmasters. And the impact is not life-threatening. It's not devastating. It's not going to destroy people's lives, or it shouldn't anyway. So you've got to understand and appreciate that. And we want people to grow. We want people to learn. If you don't have a safe place and an opportunity, then what are they going to, what's the point? So you want to have that. So those are some of the key things. I also learned the requirements to actually ask people to step up, to ask people specifically for a role, to ask for help. And that's fundamentally what we need to do. And that we can't do everything ourselves. When I was an area director, I missed out on so many things because I didn't understand the role. When I was a division director, I missed out on so many things because I didn't understand the role. As a program quality director, I missed out on some things because I didn't understand the role. And as a district director, I'm missing out on things because I don't fully understand the role. So I'm learning. And it would be great if I could just go back and do those roles again, because now I understand them a lot better. So what I did this year, one of the things I'm taking advantage of that I kind of got a little bit smart on, but I'm not really smart. I contacted all the district directors, past district directors, and have just started a dialogue. So I'm saying, what did you learn? What are things that you've identified? And also having a mentor, because we don't know everything. So the one biggest thing I've learned from Toastmasters and taking on senior leadership roles is that you don't know everything. And by the time you figure it out, it's too late. So you need to understand that you're going to miss out on some things. But there's also a wealth of opportunity out there of experience that you can tap into, and people are willing to share. So go for it. It's an amazing organization. It's an amazing opportunity for you if you want to step up. So while I didn't think I was going to learn anything from this process, I'm really amazed at how much I've learned as an individual working, with all of the experience. So if you come into the organization with less experience, you're going to learn a lot more. If you come in with more experience, you're probably going to do better and also learn additionally, because you always learn from what you know. Sorry, it was a long answer. There you go.
It was good. So I'm sure that there are people who want to clap for you. I'll clap in their place. This is true. There you go. Oh, yeah, this is very true. I had a number of people try to step in, well-meaning people who said, Carol, do you have time for this in your life? And the answer was no, but will I ever? And so that was one big issue that came up when I was talking to people, nudging them, trying to get them to come forward. They kept on saying, well, I don't really have time in my life right now. If you don't, it's amazing what you have time in your life for. It's not that anybody has more time than somebody else. It's that there are certain priorities that you have in your life. You carve out the time for things. You don't have any extra time. You make the extra time. And one issue that came up was, well, I'm trying to keep my life in balance. To which I had to answer, so how are you doing with that? Because I don't know anyone whose life is in perfect balance. And if it is in perfect balance, they have to really limit their world to keep it there. And I think in Toastmasters, by taking on roles either in club leadership or in district leadership, or just stepping up to help with a project or lead a project, we learn some key and vital skills. They're key and vital skills about how to do more in less time. If we never stretch ourselves in that way, we will never develop those skills. It's kind of like a balloon. When you get a balloon, it's shut and you try and blow it up and you don't get very far. You take that second breath and you might get a little bit. But it's that third breath that you put in that actually blows up the balloon. And once it's blown up, it will never shrink back to the state it first came in ever again. So sometimes when you stretch yourself in an area you haven't done before, you don't get very far at first. If you persevere, you get a little bit further. But if you actually commit to it and you go all the way with it, the full distance with it, you will stretch yourself in ways that you never imagined. And you will never go back to that small, tidy little world again. You will have the capacity to expand wherever needed, whenever needed. You will know that you can make the time. You can carve out the time when you need to. So I would argue with those saying, well, I don't really have the time right now. When will you have the time? It's kind of like having children. You never have time to have children. You make the time to have children. So just like that, Toastmasters leadership, it'll never be the perfect time. You'll never have scads of time. But if you make the time, I guarantee you, it will be worth it. If you know some great people that getting their feet wet with Toastmasters leadership at a higher level, it's actually going to stretch them in ways that are going to help them in their professional life, then I would have that conversation with them. Now might be the right time in their career to take that leap of faith, to know that it's a safe place to fail, and to go ahead and be prepared to stretch themselves. Not just a little and not just once, but keep stretching themselves. Commit to that year of leadership and possibly more, and to see how they expand their world and where that takes them. With that, I know we have some people that have taken on leadership roles. So I'd love to know who here has taken on a district leadership role, which includes area director, division director, or one of the 6 key district director roles. And those key roles are district director, program quality director, club growth director, a PR manager, finance manager, or admin manager. So far, 5 people have voted. I didn't vote, but I would be a yes, obviously.
We have 7 people voting. Come on, there's a few more out there that can vote.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
So far, only 2 have responded that they've actually taken on Toastmasters leadership roles beyond the club level.
Okay, so there you go. I'll close the poll.
Okay. So for those who haven't yet taken on that role, I know only one person had identified that they were actually going to self-nominate. For those people who haven't taken on district roles, my question to you is, why not? Why haven't you stepped up yet? What's holding you back? That's it. And feel free to type in the chat area. Just going to look at the chat, attendee chat. There we go. No, I'm not seeing any answers yet.
Come on, guys, type in. Let's hear from you. Meanwhile, I can talk about what held me back. To your point, I felt that I could wait till I was retired. And circumstances, Carol, as you know, came upon me that an opportunity arose that I took advantage of, or at least my family said it was okay to do that. And it was scary, and it is scary. Mm-hmm. But anything you get outside your comfort zone, anytime you get outside your comfort zone, as you're saying, you're stretching that balloon. So my balloon has stretched a bit this year. And I did something several years ago where I tried something. I did my MBA a long time ago, but I was doing it as an adult, and that took a huge amount of time, a lot more than this has taken. And that was a major investment in my career and my life. And I think that this is too. While I don't need it as much now from a career point of view, it really is helping me grow as an individual. And people who take on those leadership roles have a great opportunity to grow and become the leaders and or the people that they want to be and develop the skills they want to acquire. So I see that we got some notes coming in here, some comments.
Yes, we do. Well, some people are brand new to Toastmasters, so that's understandable. Yeah, you do need a certain amount of time in before you run for leadership roles. But let me just see. So Lisa was both area director and division director. When you need help, there are always Toastmasters willing to step up and help. Yes, there are. So you can find ways to make it a little easier on yourself. Gordon, I've needed to improve my time management skills, figuring out who I am and what I want to become. And I think that that's why a majority of us are in Toastmasters. So you are in very, very, very good company. Jim, why not? Doing VP Ed, first time in my local club. And there's a lot of new groundwork to do there. Yes, absolutely. Plus family duties. Yes, absolutely. That's one of the things that I tried to address last year as district director. I made it really clear that your family is your support. So going to your family and saying how important they are to you and saying, look, I'm committing this time to you. I need to do this for myself right now to develop these skills that I really want to develop. And I'm asking for your support. So I will be less available, but I will make sure I will put a fence around this time. And this is our family time. I will not let anything touch it. And I made it very clear to all of the leaders on the team to let their fellow leaders know what that time was, so nobody interrupted that time. And Sean, as have you managed to hold on to that time? Your time is Fridays, about 4 o'clock on.
I have. As a matter of fact, it's an interesting year because one of the division directors came to me and said one of his concerns was about time. And he has a young family, and he wanted to make sure he was able to devote the time. So we have honored his time, and we've limited the number of meetings that we have, and also made sure that he has the support infrastructure so that he can do the things he has to do. And when he attends the division director calls, often we hear a young child in the background playing, sometimes having a little tantrum, sometimes whatever, but it's quite lovely. And I don't mind, as long as other people don't mind it. When my grandkids come along and make a little bit of noise or make some background, have that background, I don't mind it when other people do. I understand that we're trying to do that balance and have all those things. So to accommodate it is important. And yes, I do have some boundaries. I set boundaries for myself, and I've allowed boundaries for others. Sometimes you have to cross those boundaries for a one-off, and that's okay if it's a one-off. It's just not. You shouldn't be crossing into people's boundaries unless they agree to it, and it's on a limited time basis. So you are respecting their time. So yes, we have. We've lived up to the boundaries.
Excellent. Another thing that you learn in Toastmasters leadership is how to set boundaries for yourself and maintain them. And so sometimes people have found themselves in situations where they needed to step back and catch their breath and figure things out, and get their ducks in a row, and then come back. And that's the beautiful thing about Toastmasters leadership is there are times when there's a lot to do, and there's times when there's less to do. So you can figure out, if you get yourself into a little bit of time issues, you can figure out what's not working. And then in the time that you're not as needed, you can figure out how you're going to go forward in the future. The other beautiful thing about Toastmasters leadership is they recommend that you start with club leadership before you go on to apply for an area director. Certainly if you're thinking of stepping up for either division director or one of the top district roles, you need to have been club president. And so that is a requirement. But we have had area directors who only have their competent communicator. In fact, we've had area directors who didn't have their competent communicator yet. So for our newbies, I would say that if you don't necessarily want to step into Toastmasters leadership just yet because you'd like a little bit more experience, you're probably very wise. Give it another year, but do definitely put it on your agenda for the following year. You will have great support. As area director, what did you learn, Sean Gold?
Well, I learned that there's a minimum expectation that you do two visits per club during the year for each of the clubs that are in your area, and that you should or could have an area council. That's and that you're responsible for an area contest. So there's some very minimal things that are expected, and there's so much more that you can do, and so much more that you can learn from the whole process, because the clubs themselves, especially the presidents and the VP Eds, have a lot of experience, have a lot of information that they can share with others. And so having that information, because you have some clubs which are really good and powerful and successful, and other clubs which are struggling. So when you have those clubs that are struggling, having that opportunity and providing that opportunity as an area director to share that information in the area councils, as well as taking what you learn from other clubs and sharing with the ones that are struggling, or just sharing information, is really very valuable. I didn't do enough. I found that I did the minimum. I met the checkbox requirements of an area director. And when I look back at it, I could have learned more. I would have learned more had I done a little bit more, but it didn't take a lot of investment on my part. And that was the good news. The bad news is that, as I said, I had an opportunity to learn a lot more.
Right. Just like anything in Toastmasters, you will get more out of the program, whatever level you're at, whatever position you take on, you'll learn more the more you put in. And when I was area director, I kind of came in late in the game. They put me in an area that had not been filled yet. And I came in just before the area director training. I remember looking at this area in that training going, oh, as I analyzed it, and I realized it was going to be a real challenge. I had one strong club, one, and the rest of the clubs were in trouble. In fact, they flat out told me, this club you were going to lose. There's no way you can save it. And of course, I took that on as a challenge. Not only did that club live, but I looked at that and I thought, well, I've got to leave the area at least as good, if not better than I found it. That was my personal mandate. I always try and leave things better than I found them for the next person coming in. So I thought, all right, well, if I were to build a club that was going to help this area succeed, it's not fair for one club to host all the contests, for one club to handle all the heavy lifting. We need a clone of that club. We need another strong community club to do some of the heavy lifting. And I found a venue and I talked to a few people and I asked clubs if I could come in and do a presentation because we wanted to build a new club. And I was hoping to inspire some of their members to get involved. The what's in it for them was that they were going to get credits on their competent leadership. They were going to get credits for doing speeches. They're going to be able to learn far more than they can just going to their regular club every time. So I went to the clubs and a few people from a few of the clubs got inspired and they came and helped. Not only did that build community in that area that they had never had before, and a club, a corporate club that had never ever participated in contests, decided to host the spring area contest, and a bunch of their people competed. But that club that was dying not only lived, it grew. A bunch of people from that club were inspired to continue on. And even though that club didn't continue to grow after my area directorship ended, I would say that the people that were in that club at the time have probably gone on to do some pretty amazing things. So what I gained from the experience is, yes, I can lead people to do things they wouldn't normally do. And it is a very satisfying role at that area director level because you get to roll up your sleeves, you get to go in there, you get to talk to people one-on-one, hear their challenges, brainstorm around issues, and then help them take the right steps for them. Whereas as division director, you don't actually get to do that. Sean, what did you learn as division director?
Have an assistant. Have an assistant. That's one of the things that I've really pushed onto the division directors this year is that they must have assistants, and we'll reward them with badges and kudos and pats on the back. They don't get any direct recognition from Toastmasters for the role, but they get a great experience. They get an opportunity to do certain things, maybe to run a contest, maybe to the division contest, maybe to do something towards club extension, club retention, just to work with clubs and to do some things which they wouldn't otherwise do. And they learn some of the background things without any of the direct, real pressure associated with it. Mm-hmm. They don't have the direct responsibility, but they also don't have they don't get the credit as such. But it's a great opportunity, and people want to learn. And they can come in just being a newbie. Someone who's just started Toastmasters 2 weeks ago could come in as an assistant division director. And it's an incredible learning opportunity. So number one would have been, I didn't have an assistant. I should have. It would have been easy to do. I mean, I was relying on my area directors to do the work, and they really do the bulk of the work that you need to have as a division director as far as a checkbox go. I mean, you need to be doing a few other things. You should be, but you can have, if you don't have an assistant, you're going to end up doing it yourself or use one of your area directors. But having assistants was very valuable, would have been very valuable. and just keeping the focus on, just letting people know, letting the communication stay there, having the area directors communicate regularly together and share what they're doing, best practices. That's really powerful because there's a little competition that goes on between people. It's friendly competition. There's no direct competition. It's not about who's the best or who does things better, but it's, if you get a win here, you do something cool there, then say, well, I'd like to do that too. That sounds like a really great idea. So sharing that information, sharing those best practices, that's what I found. The role of a good leader or a strong leader is to set a vision, set an expectation, and reward people for doing what they're supposed to be doing and what they're successful at achieving, but allowing that information sharing, letting people try things out and giving them somewhat free range. So you got to trust them, and you learn to give more trust to those people. You got to watch it because certain people will mess up because they don't know or because they haven't tried something before and you've done it before and they know the results. So you need to potentially watch it a little bit. But I just revel in watching people grow, and people do grow if you give them an opportunity to try stuff out. So number one, have an assistant, let them take on some of the things. And number two, just give people the opportunity to try things out that they wouldn't otherwise do. As long as it's not going to be too painful or too costly for the organization, then it's a good growth opportunity for them.
Great. Excellent. Now, I never got to do the division director role. I went straight into the trio because there was no one who wanted to run for club growth, which at that time was Lieutenant Governor of Marketing. However, in working with the division directors, I've seen a lot of different styles. And I think as a division director, that's where your natural leadership styles start surfacing. And you get a chance to see what's working about your natural style and what's not working for you. And some division directors have found themselves having to do an awful lot of extra work. And it might be because they're really great doers, excellent doers. And they were probably a fabulous area director, just very competent. But then getting up into that division leadership, it is a shift. It's a real definite shift. And pulling yourself back and not being the doer, letting other people be the doers and shouldering the real responsibilities that you have as a support of those doers, an encourager of those doers, an accountability partner to those doers. That's the new challenge. Sometimes it can be hard to do. Sean, did you ever find it really hard to not jump in there and do?
No, but that's because my background was the analogy in workplace is that if you're an area director, then you're like a supervisor or a first level manager, whatever you want to call that person. And when you're a division director, it's like being a middle manager. And I've been a middle manager before, and I trusted my people and I allowed them to do their job. They understood their job. No, they're just coming in. I wanted to make sure that they understood it and that I could provide a little bit of guidance because I've been an area director. I could advise the area directors on a little bit about what their role is and ensure that they had the district officer training. But I let people go. So I didn't struggle so much with what's called micromanaging them. I was okay with that because my background taught me that, and I'm also comfortable with that, letting people try things out. So for me, that wasn't a big challenge. I do see some people having difficulty with that, and I see right now within the division directors that I have, some of them have more experience at that, and they run a well-oiled machine. Other ones are struggling a little bit because they don't have that background. So some of them need a little bit more coaching and guidance than others. But it's, as I said, it's a great learning opportunity. We all get to learn from these roles.
Sorry, I'm just going to turn. I don't know what that is. Okay. Yes, and that's the key thing, to not be afraid to take on this role and discover what kind of leader you really are and what is working and what isn't working, and then ask for the help that you need to sort it out. At the division director level, definitely you should have a mentor, and you should always have a mentor that's at least one, if not a couple of levels above you, that can share some of the lessons that they've learned along the way, just like Sean mentioned, that he's talking to past district directors about what they learned, what they would do different, and the challenges that they faced and how they tackled them. Toastmasters is full of people who want to help others succeed. Dr. Ralph Smedley shared with us that the real magic behind Toastmasters is two things. Criticism, which is we call feedback, but he called it criticism, and mentoring. That's what you get in the Toastmasters program. You get feedback and you get mentoring. Now, sometimes in leadership, people aren't necessarily willing to tell you what they'd prefer you to be doing, especially if their paycheck depends on them continuing to have a position under you. So Toastmasters is a beautiful place for you to turn to those people that you are working to lead and say, what's working for you? What could I do different? What do you need from me? And to get that real, honest feedback, which you can only get in Toastmasters, that's going to help you to close up some of your gaps and be more effective in all of your leadership opportunities. So let's go on to the district roles. There are 6 of them beyond area director and division director. By the way, area director, those positions are appointed by the district director in our district. Those are not elected. The division director positions are elected, and we always hope that there's several people running for those positions. Well, competition, it just sharpens everything. Some people shy away from competition, but honestly, it is good for you if you've got a little bit of competition there. And when you get up beyond the division director, and there are 6 opportunities. There's the finance manager, which you don't have to have been an area director or a division director to be a finance manager. You could go straight in. And there is the admin manager, the same thing. You don't have to have been an area director or a division director to take on that position. The PR manager, again, you don't have to have had another major role to go into that position. There are definitely advantages for those who have been in club leadership at the very, very least, and for those who have seen things from an area director or division director level. If they go into those positions with that understanding, they can bring more to the role. But you can be a finance manager for more than 1 year. You could do 2 years in a row. You can be an admin manager for 2 years in a row. You can be an area director for 2 years in a row. You could be a division director for 2 years in a row. And I believe I have to double check on the PR. Sean, do you know offhand? I'll look that one up if you don't.
I can't see why you couldn't be.
Okay. There are 3 positions you absolutely cannot do 2 years in a row. And that is club growth, program quality, and district director. That is what we call the trio. If you hear that term thrown around, that's the trio. And while some people say they're the head honchos, really, honestly, they're the servant leaders of all. They serve everyone. So in that club growth role, the key things that you gain is a great understanding of the entire district. You cannot just focus in on your little geographic area. You must know what's going on in all the clubs. And the clubs that you are working with the most are the clubs that are struggling to keep existing. And you are also building new clubs for the future. And I know that people shy away from the whole building new clubs, so they want to skip that role because building new clubs, that's not popular. However, we need to keep building new clubs. Sean, you've seen that in real time. Why do we need to keep building new clubs from your perspective?
The 2 major reasons. One of them is that there's clubs that will disband and will decharter. They will close down because they are not meeting the needs of the members anymore. The club doesn't meet its needs. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. Many of them are because of personalities. Some of them are just because of demographics, some things happening in some of those areas. But the clubs do close. And we've had a number of clubs close that were corporate clubs. They lose corporate sponsorship, and they're no longer funding them, and the members, or they have to, the facility closes down. We've had members had to work from home instead of working from a corporate office, and so there's struggling trying to figure out how to get some synergy and have have an actual corporate program running. So we've had clubs close. If we have clubs close and we don't build new clubs, then our total number of clubs decreases, the number of members decreases, the funds to be able to support the district and the members' activities decrease, which means puts a heavier burden on the existing clubs and the existing members. So that becomes a challenge. So we need to constantly look at new club opportunities, whether they be corporate or whether they be community clubs, to make sure that, or advanced clubs. I actually like those too. It's a great opportunity to grow as individuals and focus on skills that you really want to hone. So it's an opportunity to grow them. It's a need to grow them. So we do need to have those new clubs.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter how great you are at rescuing clubs, helping clubs succeed, how hard you work. You will lose clubs. It will not be your fault. It is just the natural way of things. It may have been coming on for years and years and years. It may be just like in the corporations, a situation beyond your control. But there will always be an attrition of clubs. And I would say if you had a year where you lost 0 clubs, that would be an anomaly, a really strange situation. But building new clubs is very exciting. It's a bunch of people that have come together. They've decided to take on this learning opportunity, and they're going to learn and grow together. I just finished building my dream club. So it's an advanced club, but it's a unique advanced club where we've got a lot of people who have never been Toastmasters. About half of our crew have never been Toastmasters. They just have advanced speaking skills. So you can build the clubs of your dreams. You can help other people as club growth director build the clubs of their dreams. The sky's the limit. They just need to talk to you about what they want to create. You might see pockets in the geographical regions where there is no club. That means that people don't have an opportunity to learn and grow the way that you've had the opportunity to learn and grow. And creating that spark in that community, helping them to create something that's going to serve their community is very exciting. It does sound like a lot of work, and I won't mince words. It was a lot of work, but it was incredibly rewarding. Just like the area director role, the club growth director role, I have to say, is the most rewarding of the trio roles. That's where you get to make the biggest difference. So if you're holding back because you're thinking, oh, I don't know, it's a lot of work and I don't know if I have time. I did not have time. I made the time and I do not regret one single bit of it. It is probably the greatest growing experience that I had to date with all areas of growth that I'd ever taken on. You develop great relationships that will continue. And not only in the district, but beyond the district, because everybody in Toastmasters International wants to help you succeed. The region advisor is helping you succeed. People in other districts are willing to give you whatever they can to help you succeed. It is just a wonderful time of people reaching their hands out to you. If that's for you, I'd say that maybe you should take a look at that in your future. As program quality director, that is much like the division director role where you're leading and guiding teams. So tell me about your experience in that, Sean.
Well, as program quality director, the greatest thrill I had was that we had pathways roll out during my program quality director role year. So it was a major event taking place. We also still had 2 conferences to work through and had all of the regular training that we had to do. So the 2 conferences meant that we had the 2 contest periods. So that was the last year. That's no longer there. We're now down to one conference and one contest period. So it takes a lot of the pressure off of the program quality director, and Pathways is rolled out. So it's, it's right now the role would be not so bad. I mean, this year is a little bit more of a transition role, and what we've been focusing on and what I was able to do in my program quality director year, the year that I was program quality director, was to focus on the trainer. We were looking at education, looking at how to improve the overall skill level of the trainers, and to make sure that the club, when we had the club officer training through the ACTs, that there was going to be the accredited club training, that it was actually meaningful, and that we called these things accredited club training, but nothing was really accredited. So I wanted to have the teachers to be at a skill level that was high enough to raise the level, raise the bar, so that people would want to go to club officer training, that they would want to achieve something. So that was the fun I had. So I got to create that, modify the existing program and put my own touch on it. And that's something that we carried through this year. And we just completed 2 sets in a row. Mike Brown was in Victoria yesterday, and he was in Parksville today doing the last 2 train-the-trainer sessions for the fall 2018 year, and the training session. So we've wrapped up. We did 4 of them this year, 1 in the Lower Mainland, 1 in the interior. Now we just completed those other 2. So it's nice to see that thing that I was able to bring my own special part of it to the district, and to see that carry on. As I said, going forward, it's going to be more focus on education in general, and what other kind of programs we can do. This year, we had this the Fall Leadership Fair, which was another unique thing, something we were taking advantage of this fall program where we don't have a conference. So when you're in that role, you have a lot of opportunity to do good things and to mess up a little when you try things out that don't work, but it's all fun.
That's right.
And you get the international training, which is a really good experience, to go into the district officer training, to go to the international training and the mid-year training. Those are really great opportunities to see what's going on at the international convention and to learn from that. Amazing opportunity to see great speakers, great leaders, to be with the top, and to realize what you can do and could be doing.
Yeah. As somebody who went through all 3 roles in succession, so I did club growth, and then I did program quality, and then I did the district director role, I can honestly say that, because I've talked to a lot of people about this who skipped roles, and they wish that they had taken all 3 in succession: club growth, then program quality, and then district director, because each level has its own lessons to teach you. The lessons that I learned as program quality were completely different lessons than I learned as club growth, but I could use the lessons that I learned in club growth to help me in program quality. And when you get into that position, you come in with some preconceived notions, and then you quickly learn that your theories are flawed. And so you change gears and you ask a bunch of questions of a bunch of people that are willing to help you. And you put together something that is actually hopefully going to work for the district, to move it inspire people to self-motivate, to move their club, their Toastmasters journey, and thus the whole district in the right direction. And I think it's really, really important to emphasize that the only reason that we have a district trio, the only reason that we have any of these leadership roles, is because Toastmasters International wanted to help the member. The member is all important. The member comes first. Where does the member get help the most? In their club. Why do we spend so much time educating club officers and emphasizing that they need to come to training every single time? It's to ensure that the member is well taken care of. The area director is there, boots on ground, to help the club. The division is there to help the area director and to provide greater learning opportunities for that geographical region. And then the district trio is there to help all the division directors and the area directors. So they're not necessarily diving into the clubs and able to help the club one-on-one. But that's why we have so many roles available. If you counted out, I did this once, I counted out all of the leadership roles, including club level and all of the district level roles. We have enough roles to give half of our members, at least half, a leadership experience each year. That's a lot of leaders. If you get the opportunity to lead the district, that is just a huge chunk of learning all by itself. And so those shying away from district leadership, I would invite you to reach out to Sean, reach out to me, reach out to past district directors, and pick our brains. Ask us why we went in, ask us what we learned, and I guarantee you each of us will have a slightly different answer, but all of us will be able to share with you that it was absolutely worth the time invested. And I wouldn't trade my district director experience for anything, even though I wish that the outcome had been more, a little bit higher in the numbers. But it wasn't about numbers, it was about relationships. And I got an opportunity to make a positive difference in a lot of lives. That is a huge, huge gift. And I'm so grateful that all of you trusted me with that. And I got the opportunity to do that. So we're coming to the end of the hour. And I know a bunch of you are now thinking, well, maybe Toastmasters leadership is for me. How do I nominate myself? We don't want you to wait for someone else to nominate you. If you nominate yourself, then I know as the leadership committee chair that you are definitely willing and ready to jump into the role. And we can start moving in a positive direction. If someone else nominates you, I have a step to take. If you truly have an interest in leadership beyond your club level, please, please do consider reaching out and saying, yes, I would like to consider it. Please tell me more. There will be an email coming out early this week. I've got to coordinate that with Sean, but the email coming out will have all the information that you need to take a look at the different roles, to know what you're qualified for, and to be able to send in your application. We will be accepting nominations until December 15th. And then I will be reaching out to a group of carefully selected people called the Leadership Committee to see what sort of gaps we can fill in. So if you haven't been nominated by December 15th, you're not out of the woods yet, you may get a tap on the shoulder because we see something in you. We just don't yet know what it is. And we would love for you to explore that further.
Did you want to, Carol? Did you want to share the website and the link?
Actually, in the email, there will be instructions and there will be a clickable link. Okay. So you will have an opportunity. I think we've run out of time here. It's 8:02.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Just wanted to. All right. Anything else? I see that there was one comment from Jim about there aren't like hundreds of members. I'm not sure where the comment came from. Why he was thinking that there was only, no, we have 2,300 members, active members in District 21. We need about 2,500. It would be nice to have. And so we need a few more. We had a few clubs that are still struggling to get, they were suspended. So we need to get them back, or they were, whatever. They need to get back in the line. So we need to focus on that. But we're running around 2,300 members. So we got lots.
Yeah. So when I said about half of our members could have leadership roles in this next year, including club leadership, if you take 7 roles times approximately 150 clubs, what does that work out to? Just over 1,000. And then you add all the district leadership positions, plus you've got assistant leaders that all of the area directors and the division directors need, and the people stepping up to be chairs of our conference and heads of committees for our conference and heads of other committees throughout the year. That's a whole lot of leadership opportunities.
Right. Yes, so the numbers do include the clubs. Got it. Yes, within the district, there are 34 area directors, 8 division directors, and then there's the 6 core executive leadership members.
Thanks,
So,
Jim. Okay. Okay. Any questions? I haven't really seen any questions come in. You've been a very attentive and quiet group.
there are no questions that have come in. I see.
I haven't seen any. So
Correct.
nothing in the Q&A.
No, nothing in the Q&A.
All right. Well, you know who to ask. I am the leadership chair, and I will be fielding any questions that you might have. Also, feel free to ask leaders that you know and trust. And yes, we want to see a lot of you tapping good people on shoulders and saying, "I see something in you."
And you can tap yourself on the back if you think that you're something you'd like to try. Really, this is a great opportunity. One of the best opportunities you'll have if you want to invest in yourself. Investing in yourself by going to taking on a leadership role in Toastmasters is one of the best ways. It's safe, it's fun, and it's a great place to learn and to grow. And you'll go outside your comfort zone. If you go outside your comfort zone, you will grow, and it's a great opportunity. So I do highly recommend you do it. Carol, thank you so much for leading this session. Really appreciate you doing this. I know you had to race home to get it to I really appreciate you making it so we could all do it. And if there's no other questions, I see some comments coming back, and I appreciate that, but we'll call this an end. So thank you all. Oh, okay. Next week is on Easy Speak. The next 2 weeks, there'll be sessions on Easy Speak. So if you want to know more about how to utilize Easy Speak effectively, come join us next week, 7 p.m. Sunday evening for the next Seminar Sunday session. Take care and have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.